26 January 2021, Saquarema City, RJ, Brazil. Great country. Almost has no problems, especially on institution. And a situation for sure that we do not observe in other areas, especially by concurrence on financial advantage by all ways, by all costs. And this purpose, very devil purpose, to obtain advantage by all costs, sometimes costs the advantage as itself, because when you had something mistaken and you must insist into the mistake to keep something wrong and have this as something legal, of course that in a very specific moment maybe you will do the self-incrimination. Perhaps we had this issue, the last issue here, which was the global responsibility considering the US defensive system. We had the distribution of values by players or machines or units as business, my tank, with drivers and programs and or apps. 2014-2022, we could observe that the driver budget, considering the program as users in 3 levels as institution or 3 division segments as institution and all levels, indeed presented players. So we can observe that the institutional player using the driving budget presented failures at programs. And if I do the audit for the failure at program, which is the use of the driver presented like this, indeed they will check that the institutional failure gone equally in the same way in the United States by the pattern observed the concurrence even by silence, global responsibility security forum. The silence can be a crime if your partner at this is a mistake, is a failure. You must complain your partner. If I am a director and my co-worker commit a mistake and insist into this mistake, I must ask to this co-worker present reasons to the mistake or accept the resignation and got dismissed, got fired. We had on Rio de Janeiro on our conversation that I have my, space here as my house. Inside my house I have my private room as my living, my space when I do my thoughts, do my things. The cohesive argument of my environment as a global company, for instance the IBM, will present an argument at the architecture new. And this will kind of push a lot of effort against my small unit of business as my tank, my think tank doing the intellectual asset of the IBM or a cluster of companies. And I must, resist to this and this. Going more than 10 years, it's the harassment. And you keep insisting, and in a very specific moment, you couldn't change my structural design as a square, but you made an invasion inside my space. And you got into my space But my space is a private living, part of my privacy. Sometimes, for instance, in Brazil, has no excuse to do this. And if I'm doing the development as industry and a lot of things, or even the strategy of the judicial system to be offered for someone, or a security plan considering the Europe and the United States and maybe the Japan, you violated all this, and if goes by secrecy, equally violated by you. Can you understand? We will have in mind two types of cognitive reading, indeed both used at the United States of America: the deduction and the induction. The deduction will come from the theory. We will have hypotheses and tests of things, the observation, and we will confirm the things. We had the theory that you had failures on body, observed by them. You like the body jet, but they like body jet. So we will check that the hypothesis is, if you do this on body jet or the body jet, you like say, can you consider you doing this in other areas? Maybe kind of have a false perception about the reality, considering the instrument you do or the program and the driver misguided, running something different that my machine must use as learning, and you can have with the machine the same things you do with your peers as conformance with the criminal purpose, because my machine is binary. It must be 1-1 confirmed 1-1. My machine will never understand and have a history with you. We will need a judicial power to talk with the criminal, because my machine is pure. The induction comes from the theory, having the hypothesis, the pattern, and the observation. And we will check that the deduction, the theory budget, the hypothesis, the criminal use of this instrument, the observation that the financial flow and the transparency that you are unable to present, the confirmation when I, for instance, have a contract with the IBM and you do a fraud that's 2 billion, and you can deny this because it's a fact. We will check that my company can offer you and obtain the privilege even on your system, right? Because the public corruption belongs to the public department, and if in turn you win, I will obtain the privilege, a tax managed, for instance, to do not support your criminal system, ruled by you, and will be declared by the judicial power in the United States of America. Because if you are a judicial power, part of the criminal system as organized crime, which is the legitimacy to be a judge and a criminal at the same time, you must pick a side. My machine wouldn't talk with you. You need the judicial power, not related with the problem as the organized crime. If you do the resistance the way you did the other time, you assume your side. The induction comes from the theory, the frauds on budget, the criminal use of the budget, having the hypothesis. And we consider, for instance, the FIFA contracts as the European Committee and the Olympics. The pattern observed as a creativity account, having a big amount of money and dripping all resources from your treasury and using this amount of money as a circuit to present as something solid that indeed is very hot. You project this for the future, compromising the future to solve your present time at the account. It's a pattern on account named the Fourier model. The observation brings to reality. We will check that this model here, invasive, and evil as criminal purpose, violating the structure of my family circle or my company, a social environment that I live because it like to put me down. And if you can't, you use this to any other element inside my social circle. which is my social circle, can be my room, my living room, my department of marketing, my political party A, my political party B, or my social group. You try to get me broken the environment and having the entrance inside my space, but you couldn't get. In the same way, you have the entire money diverted from your treasury by the budget using the fraud contracts. In general, the overprice as observed since the 90s at the Operation Third Wind, considering that this formed a new company, the public resource as a semi-patent trending projected, you would like to form a new political system or something like this, especially used to avoid the consequence against you. But we use this constitutional system, valid and legitimate in present time, to offer the case in the United States, in the United Kingdom, considering that you do this kind of thing as a criminal, dishonest, coward, extremely violent, and doing all things by corruption. You will transfer this in each one as, for instance, the resource and the structure is broken, or you will use the proof constructed by simulation and a lot of things that the deep web scam against anyone inside my design. It's named the borrow proof, but the borrow proof as something used to sustain your life in the very beginning of this conversation will bring you to the self-incrimination of yourselves and peers. The solidarity through this we can check quite simple, observing kind of the physiological circuit by the proof product as a production of a criminal system that did a violation illegal since the very beginning to justify. For instance, if you have the violation of 1 million persons, considering companies and all, and you use a lot of excuses, having the transference of this group of events as a production by unfortunate dishonest behavior, indeed you are having the systematical transfer inside the circuit based on the premises itself, which is something totally illegal. In general, you are kind of having the authorization as something legal through your entire system by the transference of this as a money to justify the fake reality of your company that is broken, or your entire conjuncture like the Petrobras or whatever, or any other company as a state owner, and according to the Article 173, paragraph number 5 of the Brazilian Constitution, the state shouldn't have any kind of compromise with the economy as something profitable, especially transferring by peers, forming the trust, in the way we prove it. You are totally wrong, according to the Brazilian Constitution, according to the legal system in Brazil, according to the American Constitution and the legal system in the United States of America. This kind of thing as a violation, transferring the proof to blame, for instance, someone else inside my family, or to blame any other company or interest, and have the evasion as behavior, the evasive behavior, considering the observation of the judicial power in the United States, to perpetrate white-collar crime, because this is a charge judicial against a criminal group observed by many others behave not only like this inside the debt. The debt is sourced that my legal right as compensation, and all your actions are totally wrong and against the law. You please take a look at the risk report 2023 trace january.blogspot.com. We are closing this first month of the year. You must have in mind, America, that the conformance as application of the law must go according to the Constitution. You will suffer until 2028 systematical attempts to destroy your values, destroy your creed, destroy the way you do things, not only on the legal system, but especially on business and the fiduciary element that you must have in any serious system. You must confirm your speech and things inside your environment considering your values, premises, and the Constitution. Strong this and for sure have the order to do the judicial power, enact the order, and have the income, because as we told, I'm the creditor, you are the judicial power, they are the debtors, unveiled as criminal system. I'm the creditor. As a research, I do not talk with them, I talk with you, you talk with them. You will do the financial order today, give the money to the judicial account that will be received by you. You research this, you have the open data of UK, for instance, or whatever, and then you order to transfer to me, or I will have inside this bank a piece of my use. All operations sourced to this, always with the open data to the judicial system until the end of time. It's a legal operation, it's a legal charge. Conditional flow 1% first 3 trillion, element as essential clause. The anti-crime budget, it's against the crime for sure. Have a good night and weekend.